had been in the sport about a year, and you joined Petty Enterprises, and Richard wins the championship that year. How big a deal was that for you?
At that point in time, Richard was supposed to win championships, so it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't. You went to the Petty's, you expected to win a Daytona 500 or two and a couple championships, and at that time, that's how it all worked out. And I got there after Dover in September, and when I went to work that Monday morning, they were all mad at not Benny, but Travis Carter, because Travis Carter hollered something at him as they were leaving the racetrack, because that's the race. I don't know if you remember, but Benny was leading, and Richard got down a bunch of laps, and Buddy Arrington kept bringing out cautions, and Richard made up like 7 laps or something like that. So that was what the talk was all that day. So
Buddy denies it.
Yeah, Buddy didn't know anything about it, and it was just a whole new opportunity for me. But you were in the big time, so you really expected to do things like winning championships. And as I said, it was late September. I had very little to do with it.
Well, the finish of the 1976 Daytona 500 was one of the greatest finishes in history. What do you remember about it? And were you one of the guys that tried to push him across the finish line?
No, because as soon as everybody started to bolt over the wall, the NASCAR officials went crazy, and Richie Bars ignored them. Obviously, that's Richie Bars. And 2 or 3 others went on and did it. And Chief stood there the whole time, and all he wanted somebody to do was, he said, pull the wires off, pull the wires off, pull the wires off. And we're like, wonder what Chief was talking about. Well, he wanted us to pull the wires off of Pearson's car, the plug wire. so he couldn't crank it and drive across the start-finish line first. But no, there wasn't that many that went across, and those that did got a little bit of screamed at by NASCAR, but it was all such a great event. I think they really enjoyed it.
Steve, you had some pretty big names on that team. Obviously, you had Richard, you had Maurice, Chief, you had Dale Inman. I believe Barry Dodson was there at the time. What was it like to be learning from people of such a huge, huge stature?
The biggest thing I learned quickly was that it was compartmentalized. You had people that took the oil tank out every week and cleaned it and put it back in. You had Uncle Bottle Milliken, who was Patty's uncle, and he dismounted all the wheels and tires and cleaned everything up and pulled the interliners out. And a bunch of us built things, control arms, and looked at the K-members, the front suspension pieces that came out of the car, did a lot of Magnaflux, and then across the street in the new buildings where they put everything together. So everybody kind of had their job, and what was good about my position was I was under Richie Bars. And he did a little bit of everything, so I got to learn everything.
Okay,
and that was. Other than that, I don't think it had been that enjoyable, because my idea was to learn how to do everything as quickly as I could and hopefully become good at it. Some way Kyle got in touch with me and said, I'm going to start racing. He said, Dad wants to know if you'll come take care of my car.
Right.
But anyway, I just needed to prove to myself that I was worthy almost.
Yeah.
So you do go back to level cross, and you're going to be Kyle's crew chief.
Yes, sir.
Early in his career. What do you remember about those formative years? Obviously, you won at Daytona.
Yeah.
But then...
The biggest thing I remember is back then you had different height spoilers that you bolted on the back of the deck lid. It wasn't a matter of bending things around and all that. So we just had different heights. There was no minimum. And we sent Kyle out because he was comfortable as could be, and he's so cool. He wasn't worried about anything with an inch spoiler. So me and Richard are
an inch.
Richard and I are standing on top of the trailer, just timing them and watching them. There wasn't much electronics then. And he said, "What spoil you got on there?" And I said, "The inch." And he said, and he got down that ladder, and Richard's got a funny way when he walks really fast, And I said, "What are we doing?" He said, "Get him in, get him in." He thought he was going to hurt himself, but ultimately it all worked out okay, and we won the race.